right, like I said, we got big guns. Some of the big companies coming up, they are going to be led by Kevin Liu, who is in charge of he's the managing director of investments at IDG. Kevin, come on up and grab a microphone and bring your gang with you. We have got big Patrick Chong. He is the chairman of the Chong Group. Animoca Brands. I said I would give you more Animoca. Here comes even more. It's Min Do, the chief operating officer of Animoca Brands. And then giants in the industry. We've got Fred Sun. He is the head of strategy with Tencent Cloud International. And they're fierce rivals in the cloud space. We are also going to welcome Wen Dai, who is the head of solutions architecture, Greater China from Amazon Web Services. So come on, you guys, come on up. Don't be shy. I've said all your names. That's right. That's right. Here you go. Wen Dai, don't be shy. I already introduced you too. Everybody knows. I don't want you guys to start a fight down there. Don't be afraid. You got a good referee in Kevin Liu. All right, let's do it, guys.
All right. Thanks so much for the energy. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for staying. It's now 5:30. I know you guys are all desperately aiming to get to the bar or to drinks or whatever other sort of side event that you have of this WOW Web3 Summit. I'm very pleased to be able to have titans in the game. We've got Patrick, Wen Dai, we've got Min Do, Fred from Tencent, as well as Wen Dai from AWS. And really what we're going to be talking about today, guys, is about decentralized, the nature of the internet, of how we transition from Web2 to Web3. So I think it's a very broad topic. And what we want to do, perhaps maybe, Patrick, can we actually just start with you? And can you actually, you talk to aunties and uncles all the time. How would you describe Web3 versus Web2?
Thanks, Kevin. I don't know what you mean by talking to aunties and uncles, but I'm the chair.
And also, please, before you start as well, also give an introduction about yourself and your company as well, please.
Of course. So I'm the chairman of Sangs Group. We're a family office. We invest in technology. I started to invest in crypto and blockchain around 2015. So we've been quite adventurous in the space. So we know the space quite well. It's been very interesting to see the development evolution of Web2 to Web3. Obviously, I'll be talking more about from a investor standpoint than my fellow panelists here who are a bit more technical. And it's great to be back in Hong Kong to see live conferences in this space, and very bullish to talk about how I think Hong Kong will take more of the Web3 and the blockchain space in the near future.
Thank you. Min?
Yeah, hi guys, thanks for being here. So my name is Min Do. I'm the CEO at a company called Animoca Brands. We're a Hong Kong startup. We build blockchain video games. We also do investments in the blockchain industry, kind of globally and across different venture and growth stages. So pleasure to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Hey everyone, my name is Fred Sun from Tencent Cloud International. I'm based here in Hong Kong, and I look after strategy for Tencent Cloud internationally, as well as the Web3 ecosystem. So glad to be here and talk to all of the guests here.
Hi everyone, this is Wen, Dai Wen. I'm the head of the solutions architecture in Amazon Web Services. My daily job is to connect customers' business requirements and business needs with our over 200 categories of services to help you grow your business. Thank you.
Thank you. So, apologies, Patrick. I jumped with the first question there. So, how would you describe to aunties and uncles the difference between Web3 and Web2?
So I would say I'm not going to go into too big a difference. I think I want to just tell people how I see it, I guess. Web 2.0, I think there's a big difference where I see a big change and I guess a revolution where I think the next 5-10 years we're going to see huge changes in things like gaming, how we transact, and I think privacy is a big thing. I think a lot of the data and the way revenue models were used for previous social media sites, for example, Facebook, it's all like very ad revenue driven, whereas here it's more user generated and see how we can split the revenue. So I think that space is something that we particularly like because it's not just then one or two or three big players involved, probably be shared more with users, and the content will be generated. And I think with the new AI and new generative AI and art will be something that will be very complementary to the space.
Thank you. And I guess, Min, you guys are, dare I say it, not a corporate, still a startup, right? It's $1 billion startup. But how does Animoca define what you're seeing in the sort of Web2, Web3 space, and how you typically talk about it to the wider market?
So I think Animoca focuses our energy on gaming and entertainment. But we are big believers in the philosophy of Web3. I mean, this is a Web3, generally speaking, it's a Web3 conference. So I'm sure that most people here have already heard this before. But the way we think about it is Web 1 was about read, Web 2 was about read, write, and Web 3 is about read, write, and own. And the reality is all of the data, all of the personal profiles, all of your Instagram pictures, all of your TikTok, none of that is currently owned by the user, right? The user generates the content, but actually you're not the owner of the content. The content is owned by the big tech platforms. And so we believe in the long-term future of users owning their own data, owning their own creations, and particularly, for example, within games, they would own their own assets. There are many video games where people spend hours and hours playing, developing characters, building new things like in Minecraft, and those creations and those characters, they're not currently able to be transacted outside of the game. They're all stored within the game itself. And so we believe in a future where those game characters and those assets that you develop within games will be able to be transacted openly on public blockchains. We think that will be a better future for users as well as a better future for game developers. And so we're excited about that future. And in particular, I'll mention this, as I'm sure we'll touch upon it later. In particular, I'm sure many of you have also been playing with ChatGPT or Midjourney and the new AI tools. And we believe also that blockchains are going to be fundamental to development of AI, particularly within games and metaverses, but also broadly speaking, because content is now an abundance, right? From this point forward, anybody can create any kind of art. Anybody can create any kind of in-game asset. And so if you're a game player or even if you're an artist, there will be art created by users, there will be game assets created by users, and ultimately the game makers, developers, they're going to have to control that scarcity via certain means, and we believe that that means will be blockchain. So that's what we see as the future of Web3. It's really a future where users own their own data, own their own assets, and are able to transact those, create new things, and transact those over public blockchains.
Excellent, thank you. And so I guess, Fred, from like Tencent's perspective, infrastructure, you've got investors, you've got content creators, where does Tencent kind of see what you're doing to promote the development and adoption of Web3?
Yeah, sure.
Tencent Cloud, that is, right?
Sure. I mean, just from an overall Tencent's perspective, I feel, Web3 and development blockchain, a lot of it falls under a concept that our president, Pony Ma, has officially published last year called immersive convergence. For those who speak Chinese, 全真互联网. So it's about the blurry boundary of reality and or the physical reality and the digital reality or digital world, right? It's about bringing virtual things real so that you feel you're in the real environment interacting, as well as making the real life virtual. Creating digital twins of real-life objects, bringing data onto the digital world, onto the blockchain, etc. So really, we see from a company perspective, we see Web3 as a part of the development of this vision of immersive convergence, 全真互联网, right? And from a Tencent Cloud perspective, we're very active in making sure, as the infrastructure provider, we can provide seamless service to the Web3 companies, startups, gaming developers, blockchain infrastructure providers, the right services so that they can build their decentralized infrastructure, they can build their digital ownership, etc., in a way that they're comfortable with. And we're having new products to support that.
Got it. Okay, and then sort of good point, products, right? So perhaps maybe Wendai, can you tell us about what products AWS is actually putting out there to support the development of Web3?
Sure. I want to echo Min's point that I saw from the Web 1 to Web 3 to Web 2 and to Web 3. It's all about the user experience. The user can read and rewrite and own. It's all about the end user's experience. Then what cloud can do? One of the key things we as a cloud provider is doing that we also want to transform the developer experience in Web 3. So for the layer 1 developers, we even provide service called Amazon Managed Service, Amazon Managed Blockchain Service, so that you can call the API, or with some simple clicks, you can launch a node of the Ethereum and do the data pooling and also do the data analytics. For layer 2, we also offer some analytics services, and we also offer security services for the for example, wallet vendors they can just pull the data and do the analytics and gain the insights. And we also keep helping all the Web3 developers with our ecosystem and with our marketplace from the Web 2 to Web 3, so that everyone can put your Web 3 apps or the templates into that marketplace, and your customers can launch that nodes or launch those applications via the template via simple clicks. And callback, as I mentioned, we want to ease the developer experience in the Web 3.
Great, thank you. Well, I think that you've got like different perspectives here, and I guess from Patrick, perhaps maybe back to you, right? Sort of Hong Kong's like sort of back open. Web3 is very much on the agenda of the government to really sort of push this forward. We're very pleased to obviously have a full room. But can Hong Kong go it alone? Does it need partners? Is a strong like Singapore mean a strong Hong Kong? What is your view about like attracting talent back to, say, Hong Kong so we can support a healthier economic environment?
So thanks for that, Kevin. I think, first of all, I think it's been a tough 3 years for most of us in the room here, where it's not just, we all know what Hong Kong is capable of. I've been saying this publicly recently, that Hong Kong 1.0 is pre-97. Between 97 and COVID is Hong Kong 2.0 during after the handover. And now we see a new beginning, Hong Kong 3.0. And we've seen a big movement from the Hong Kong government, Hello Hong Kong, to attract tourists. We've had a significant battering compared to Singapore and Dubai, where people are, at least on the media front, people seem to want to go to Singapore and Dubai more than Hong Kong. So I think, masks off, the borders opening, I think we're going to see, for me personally, I believe I'm very bullish on Hong Kong. I think this year, next year, we're going to see a lot more investment from family offices, different kinds of investors, but we need to re-engage back with the world and welcome people here. And I think, obviously, with the financial secretary is also introducing new measures for digital assets, which is not Web3 exactly, but it's in a similar kind of space. And I think Singapore is going the other way, which is a good news for us in Hong Kong. So I think Web3 is another one. People like yourself and Animoca is a great example that Hong Kong, actually, we can do things better than other people in the world, obviously, Tencent and so forth. So I'm a big believer of Hong Kong. I think it's the right direction that we're going in, and I think the future is bright for Hong Kong.
Great. Min, I guess one of the things is when you see a lot, right? You see a lot of projects, a lot of content coming through. Do you see a lot of more activity, content generation? And I might actually come to Tencent Cloud and AWS as well. You guys are also seeing projects come up. But from a content generation perspective, right, where's the activity? Is it happening here? Is it happening in Singapore? Are they using Tencent? Are they using AWS? Are they using different tooling? What are you seeing in terms of the content generators out there?
So I would say that, first of all, I agree with Patrick that Hong Kong is really taking steps in the right direction. Obviously, we're excited about the direction that Hong Kong's moving in, and we believe that really Web3 is going to help bring Hong Kong to its future. It's going to be one of the core pillars, in our opinion, of what's going to make Hong Kong great and continue to thrive as a city. Because Hong Kong has a natural advantage when it comes to Web3, because Web3 does have a financial element to it, obviously in the form of crypto. And that needs to be well regulated and well managed by the local government. And we do believe the Hong Kong authorities and the Hong Kong regulators are very well positioned to do that, because they're very similar in makeup to financial markets. So we are very bullish in Hong Kong. However, we do see that Hong Kong also will be reliant on the wider GBA partnerships because GBA is going to open up corridors to talent and to creativity across the Greater China, across the GBA region, which I think Hong Kong without would not be as strong, right? You have great development capability, obviously in Shenzhen, in Guangzhou. You have obviously a lot of talent that can come from those places. So we are excited about that prospect as well from our perspective. To the point of content generation globally, there continues to be content. I mean, I would say that it's true that the US is still overall leading the way from a content generation perspective, but we do see that the Western markets are likely, particularly the US, are likely to fall behind in Web3 because of the current regulatory response from the US government, which is quite, the sentiment is quite anti-crypto at least for the time being. Whereas we see that governments like Hong Kong, Korea, and Japan in particular, those traditional gaming powerhouses, are going to be very strong in Web3. Both Korea and Japan have taken active steps just this year towards making kind of Web3 development easier for their for developers in those countries, and those governments and those companies in those countries are extremely capable content generators in both anime, manga, music, as well as obviously video games. But we also believe that a lot of the audience for this is probably going to come from the Asian region. I think Asia is ready for Web3. Web3 is ready for Asia. And so I think we'll see a massive growth. I think Asia is going to lead a lot of the Web3 innovation in the coming half decade.
Cool, thank you. And I guess, Fred, for you, I mean, as Tencent Cloud, what products are you guys explicitly offering out there to Web3 developers? Is there anything that you think is it's a hot product of the month?
Yeah, sure. Maybe just addressing your earlier point a little bit about Hong Kong, Singapore, or whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think these two cities are obviously the hubs, but as Min was mentioning, the vast majority of the users, you gotta bring value to the users. The users are the Gen Z population that's in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, Hong Kong, Singapore, obviously, but the population isn't that big, right? But if you look at the users, they're here in Asia. So depends on which hub you choose. It could be Hong Kong, it could be Singapore. Obviously, we see lots more interest in Hong Kong and lots of developers moving here. So that's a positive trend for us Hong Kong people. To your question, yes. So apart from the Web2 general offering of infrastructure, platform as a service, the bread and butter cloud services, we have two things that's worth mentioning. One is what we call Metaverse in a Box. It's essentially a suite of SDKs, APIs that enables developers to build their metaverse easily. It includes stuff like cloud rendering. It includes real-time communication, instant messaging. A lot of these ready-made tools so that the gaming developers can focus on their gameplay, their tokenomics, their visual effects, etc. And the infrastructure or platform part is taken care of by Tencent Cloud. And we're good at this because we serve Tencent's own social and gaming applications globally for so many years, and we basically extract these capabilities and bring to the market to our clients. The other is some of the Web3 native infrastructure infrastructure products we're working on. One of the early ones is a RPC product that will allow developers to access blockchain data easily. We're working currently on a project with Anchor, and we'll bring more products in the Web3 infra place, such as data analytics, node engine, security, etc. in the near future. So stay tuned. Thanks for the question.
And I would say, as a video game company ourselves, we're super excited that Tencent is stepping into this space, right? Obviously, in the gaming industry, Tencent is the 800-pound gorilla. They're the big brother of the space, and so we're really excited that Tencent is stepping into Web3. We keep an eye on your Joe postings, and we see that we saw a few weeks ago, I think maybe 2 months ago, Tencent started to post Web3 job postings. So we're like, okay, Tencent is here.
But
Yeah, let's talk, man.
I guess Wendai, but like, you know, we were sort of talking in earlier on, and the one thing that AWS is known for is like its marketplace, right? I found it very interesting. If you want to be a developer, right, and you can just go to the marketplace, select whatever smart chain you want, and just start instantly developing on that. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works?
Yeah, just as mentioned, we are transforming the ecosystem from the Web2 to Web3, or both Web2 and Web3. So there are many, Web3 developers, either they are providing an end user application just like main company is doing, and some other ones are providing some 2B or blockchain services. For example, the Avalanche. Avalanche just published their template in our marketplace, so that either developer, as long as the developer want to deploy a node of the Avalanche, they can just use the template in their marketplace to launch that node. And all the configurations and all the heavy liftings are automatically done by the scripts. That is very attractive. And also, we are pushing the progress of the 2B ecosystem of the Web3. I think one of the startups I like very much is NoReal. NoReal also provide the managed services, managed blockchain services for all the companies. For example, as long as the company want to deploy a blockchain for themselves and also want to integrate that blockchain to the public chains, they can just use the Web3, NoReal services. And we are also discussing the marketplace interaction with NoReal. And things like this. Yeah, marketplace is just a symbolic thing that we are pushing the progress of the 2B ecosystem.
Great. Okay, so
Quick question. Just curious, what the marketplace product, does it compete with your own blockchain as a service?
Yeah, it's a very good supplemental things. For example, I just mentioned Amazon managed blockchain. We provide managed Ethereum nodes via that service. However, there are so many layer 1 and layer 2 vendors, so that their layer 1 and layer 2 companies can publish their templates in the marketplace. That is a very good supplement thing to our own products and to all the ecosystem.
Got it. Makes sense.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So you mentioned NoReal. Hashtag, this is not investment advice. Always do your own research. But thanks very much for that. And I guess, so from Patrick, from your perspective, right, you're sort of plugged into many decision makers, influencers. Is there any sort of particular product that you're super excited about? I mean, you mentioned like sort of AI mixed in with blockchain. Is there anything in particular you're seeing right now that you think is like something that you wouldn't mind getting involved in the future?
Yeah. So specifically to Web3, I think it's probably more the video game aspect. I think there's a lot of changes, especially the last year or so, and I think the next 3 to 5 will be a lot. And then I guess maybe not so Web3 related is the generative AI space is something that we're looking at with a lot of interest.
Got it. And then I guess, Min, from your perspective, is there anything in particular interesting? Your favorite product right now?
Yeah, I'll mention two things. So first of all, I mentioned AI earlier. We're pretty excited about what AI can do in video games. And so obviously there's right now, people familiar with our generation on a 2D layer. We're very interested in what that means for 3D. And so right now, that's kind of two different AI engines that make it happen. You need an upfront engine to do a 2D piece of art within specific parameters. So let's say, for example, you have a car, and you want to create that car. It has a shell almost, but you can still make it like a Mercedes or a BMW, and it's an AI-generated piece of art. And so you can generate the piece of art however you would like, and then there's a separate AI engine that will vectorize that piece of art. So you basically have this car on certain parameters, and then you can run it through a different engine to become a 3D asset and put that directly into a game. So we're very excited about that. And then what you can do is you can then start merging these things with other things. So you could have, for example, like a Bored Ape and a car, and you put them side by side, and then you have these sliders where the AI will mix the Bored Ape and the car. So you can have like 80% Bored Ape, 20% car. Honestly, it looks kind of weird. And you can have 80% car, 20% Bored Ape, and it's like, okay, it's like BMW with Bored Ape stickers. And this is all AI driven. So it's pretty exciting, pretty interesting. The other thing that we're really looking at and hoping is gonna do well is we are looking at a couple of what we call Web3 super apps. So these are the apps that want to be the WeChat of Web3, because there's a truly native experience, I think, that comes when it comes to messaging and communications for any new paradigm. And this is really true. You can see this in Discord, right? So Discord had every chat app or every kind of communications app has its own native audience. So for example, Slack has the business audience where it's tech workers who communicate on Slack, and Discord had a gaming audience where is really populated by gaming communities and is built for that. We do think there's going to be a Web3 communications app that's going to be native to Web3, and it's going to be driven by kind of the NFT experiences that you can get. So some of you guys might have seen that Ticketmaster did recently an NFT ticket thing for a rock band. But we see that as just a precursor to true NFT integrated experiences within these kind of communications apps. So for example, if you think about an artist, like a celebrity, who can have an app and sell their NFTs to their fans, like Taylor Swift, for example, and then you can actually be in a chat. If you're a Taylor Swift NFT holder, you can be in a chat with Taylor Swift in a group chat, right? That is a true Web3 experience, because only true fans would hold that NFT, and then they will be able to have experiences, whatever you want with that celebrity. So we're excited about that. We think that has a lot of potential, and we're looking at a variety of companies that are building that kind of experience.
Wow, that's pretty intense. That's pretty, changes the social dynamic quite actively. All right, so I think that we've got just about 3 minutes or so, I guess, from AWS, from Tencent Cloud. You guys got any views in particular about, it's very difficult to change the nature of the internet, right? You guys are kind of the backbone of the internet. And it's kind of difficult to see a world where we kind of go to decentralized infrastructure. And I'm just wondering, how long do you think we're away from actually moving from, perhaps maybe distributed? I wouldn't call it centralized, but to fully decentralized infrastructure.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. So folks have the ideal or a dream they are making all the things decentralized, but I think in reality we should consider this into which layer. For example, here are some similar lights, but in Hong Kong there's only 2 electricity providers. So when we are talking about the cloud, we're talking about the network, we are talking about the utilities. So the utilities are typically provided by some vendors. It's kind of like the centralized concept, but if you examine it into details, their infrastructure is decentralized. Just as AWS provides, we have many regions and also many POPs. It's decentralized around the world, and we are a utility provider in the Web3 world. And I think that's the concept that we need to talk about decentralization in which layer. So I think the major thing we need to channel or we need to transform is that we need to transform the application from Web2 to Web3. That's the main focus for us to do. And maybe I have no idea whether maybe 40 years or 50 years, we will have a really full decentralized thing. But I have no idea because so many years passed, there's still 2 electricity providers in Hong Kong.
Fair enough, Fred. In conclusion, anything to add from your side?
Yeah, so I really like the analogy that Wendai was using. So for decentralization, I mean, in terms of infrastructure provider, multi-cloud itself is decentralization, right? So if you're a Web3 application, you probably want to consider using at least 2, maybe 3 clouds, so that maybe right, or other you can buy your own server also. That's another way of decentralization in terms of your own infrastructure. But then. Do I see everything being decentralized? Maybe not, right? We will see a long time, even in our lifetime, coexistence of so-called Web2 and Web3, and the line will be more and more blurry, right? not everything is suitable to be decentralized, and a lot of things just makes a lot of sense to decentralize. So again, it comes back to the needs of the user. What does the user want? What does Gen Z want? What does the millennials like me want? And what about older generation wants? We still want to be able to serve the entire spectrum of the population well, right? And by decentralizing, we don't want to hurt any of people's experience, right?
Yeah, sorry, that's 2 cents maybe. I think for the Web3 developers, one of the key things to focus is that we should focus on solving problems or solving new customer requirements. That is very important. Do not do the decentralization for the decentralization. That is useless.
Absolutely.
You will not gain the customers. So that is why I stress everyone to focus on the application and do what is useful. That is something that will finally gain a user and do something new, useful to the society, to Hong Kong.
Min, you got something you want to
Yeah,
jump
I
in there?
think even as a Web3 native company, we totally agree, right, with Wendai. Ultimately, mass adoption for Web3 will only come through real user experiences and real things that are significant upgrades on what the current paradigm is. And so ultimately, it is a game of being better than what your traditional competition is. And that was true for the internet, and it will be true for like electric cars, and it'll be true for Web3 experiences as well. So we are very much on the same page and that's why we're focused on internet and entertainment and consumer adoption, because we believe that that's what's going to drive mass adoption.
Right. Well, you heard it here first, right, from the titans in the game. I think we're pretty much out of time. I want to thank everyone for your time, your attention, and also for the great content delivered from our panelists. Can you please give them a round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, and thank you very much. Kevin Liu, spectacular job. Well done, sir. Gentlemen, photo time. Let's have those pearly whites out. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we are kicking off with the Deputy CEO of Chain Up. I want to highlight in the afternoon Sebastian Bourget, one of the co-founders of the Sandbox, one of the biggest owners of property in that metaverse, is going to be coming right here in the afternoon. You do not want to miss that, because that is at the heart of what Web 3.0 is all about. And with that, I will let you go carry the party on into the night in Hong Kong. This is the WOW Summit Hong Kong 2023, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Andrew Work. Thank you. Enjoy your night. See you back here first thing tomorrow morning. All right. Thank you.